Hello and welcome back to the Walking Dead video. So today I want to talk about Negan, and I want to kind of talk about what really are we going to see from Negan moving forwards. Like, what really are we going to predict is going on? Like, this is massive spoilers for the end of episode 9. So when I say now, be ready to be spoiled. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, now. So whoever's still here, you are still here for the long haul now. So basically what happens at the end of episode 9 is that Negan goes into self-chosen exile at the end of episode 9. Like, he realizes that Maggie's emotional, and Maggie may promise one thing, but she will go out and kill you and stab you in the back another thing. And as we see this with the Reapers, like, you see Negan basically dead-eyeing, watching Maggie the entire thing, and he's like kind of seeing what Maggie will do. And when Maggie kills the Reapers, it just kind of reminds Negan that, okay, I can't trust this woman. And then he chooses to go into exile right at the end, like self-chosen exile. What's next for him? Well, this is kind of like the last comic material we had for Negan. Like, this is the only bit that was never adapted, and now we've had adapted Negan going into exile. What's next? So in the comics, he just kind of disappears, and then he ends up in the final issue, I think, where he picks up something. You see him in the final issue, I think. But we know we're going to see him more because we've seen him in the trailers. We see that he has a new group. What are we going to expect with this, and maybe what's kind of the aftermath of Negan kind of leaving and going to exile? So let's talk about what do we expect from Negan moving forwards. Like, what's Negan going to do moving forwards? Well, I definitely think in part B, Negan, we're not going to see him for a really long time. I'm thinking about episode 13, 14 is when we're next going to see Negan. I just feel like episode 10, 11, 12 is going to be mostly around trying to catch up to that 6-month time jump that we saw at the end of episode 9. I feel like those 3 episodes are going to take place between that. And we might get a glimpse of him in 13, at the earliest 12, at the, okay, we have to have Negan in 12. But I feel like Negan's only been like 2 or 3 episodes this part now. I feel like he's going to be a very small background character, and his story is just going to be a completely different thing. We're not going to see Negan, and I think when we do see him again, the only character he's going to interact with is going to be Maggie when he has his new group. I do think this new group is maybe just the other girl. I don't think it's a very big group. If it is a group, maximum 4 people. And I don't see Negan being the straight up leader of the group. I feel like if there's 4 people, Negan will kind of be a assistant leader. He will be like, okay, maybe do this, like how Daryl is kind of the leader, but he's not the clear leader. I feel like that's what they do with Negan. I don't think they're going to go down him being this big leader anymore. And I definitely think when Maggie meets up with Negan again, and Negan has this other little woman and other people with him, Maggie's gonna be like, oh yeah, he's a murderer, he's done all this, and they'll be like, yeah, we know, he told us everything. He's an outstanding guy if you look at him. And I feel like these other characters are just going to back up Negan when Maggie's trying to maybe tell them that Negan's this monster, and they're like, no, he isn't, that was years ago. If you meet him now, he's a solid guy. I think that that's going to be the drama that's going on when Negan finally has his own little, like, people that back him up and people that stand in his own corner. And maybe Maggie doesn't have that right now. Maybe when Maggie and Negan come together again, Maggie no longer has the people that will back her up and be like, Negan's a monster, because they're all dead, or they're in the Commonwealth. And Negan will have people so be like the shoes on the other foot. Maggie's seen as the outcast, maybe, not Negan. I feel like that's the story they're going to try and tell, with maybe Negan helping Maggie when Maggie's in trouble, maybe before Hilltop's fully built up. And that means Maggie has to walk around with Negan's group for a bit. That's what I think is going to happen in part B. I don't see Negan helping out with the rebuilding of Hilltop. I do see Negan saving Maggie and getting her to Hilltop when something bad happens, but I feel like that'll be the end we see of Negan again until part 3, when somehow Negan gets drawn back into it. Maybe Daryl walks into Negan then in part 3, and then Negan gets introduced to the Commonwealth, because we do see him in the Commonwealth in shots. We know Negan does end up in the Commonwealth. He's one of those characters that do end up in the Commonwealth. So I definitely think once Negan's in the Commonwealth, his story is going to be kind of him reacting to it, and his story is going to be about how the Commonwealth treat criminals. That's what I think is going to happen. Definitely, that's what I think is going to happen. Negan's arc is going to be about Negan just going through kind of punishment in the Commonwealth, and then being like, oh, you're a murderer. 'Cause Maggie would probably end up at the Commonwealth at some point, and then tell about what Negan's done when Negan ends up at it. And I feel like Negan's arc in the Commonwealth will be about him just being punished more, and then it will end with maybe at the end of the arc, once the arc's over, Negan gets let out free, and then he goes, yeah, screw it, I'm leaving the Commonwealth again, and he leaves again. That's what I think is going to happen. Be like, oh, the Commonwealth's a mistake, because he just got treated like shit there. So I definitely think that's what's going to happen with Negan at the Commonwealth. Now, I do want to talk about other people's reaction, because no one seemed to care that Negan was exiled, except for one person, and that was Lydia. So I definitely think Lydia's actually going to have something to do because of Negan's exile, and their story's going to be interconnected, because we know Lydia is at the hilltops. I think Lydia's arc is literally going to be about telling Maggie all the good things Negan has done, and her arc is going to be interconnected with Negan's, like, oh, these people, Negan basically was punished there, he lived there, but he was still treated as an outcast, he never found his way, and Lydia's going to be like, maybe I'm the same. And I definitely think when Negan eventually chooses to leave again when he's at the Commonwealth, I think Lydia's going to join him. I definitely think that. We're not going to have any reaction with Judith. I feel like Judith and Lydia have kind of switched roles, where kind of Lydia is now the little kid for Negan and Judith is no longer. So I definitely think Lydia is going to be heavily tied to Negan, and will probably be one of the reasons why Negan comes back from exile, for her just to leave with exile again with Lydia and his little group. That's what I think's going to happen. Negan's going to take her when he goes back on exile at the end of the season. And that is my video. That's what I think Negan's story is going to be for the rest of the show. I just think he's going to come back from exile, go to the Commonwealth, and then just go on exile again and be like, I don't want to be here. I just get treated badly everywhere I go because of Maggie. And I feel like Maggie's toxicity is going to push him out of the whole area. I feel like Negan is just going to travel really far, and this could set up Negan maybe ending up on Fear if they do another 8-year time jump. I hate if they do, but as Negan gets constantly mentioned over there on Fear because of Dwight and Sherry, there's all the possibilities. I do think they're obviously going to do a Negan spin-off at some point, so maybe this, him going out on exile with his little group and Lydia, could set up the Negan spin-off with them like kind of searching for a new home. That's what I think could happen. They're definitely not going to let Negan die, or just leave him to do nothing, like have him a happy ending. They're definitely going to give him a little maybe limited series show or spin-off show at some point, and I think Lydia will be in that spin-off show. And that is my video. So what do you think? Do you agree with my little predictions of what will happen to Negan, or do you disagree? Please tell me down below. Give me your little theories of what you think is going to do with Negan. Do you agree that when Negan goes on exile again, he will bring Lydia, and that will be the setup for the Negan spin-off show that happened 3 years down the line? Or do you think there'll be no Negan spin-off show? I'd like to know your opinions, and feel free to subscribe. I recommend you do. I make okay content 50% of the time, but when that 50% of the time hits, it's good. And look on the screen for more videos. But this is it for me today, so goodbye, peace out, and I'll talk to you at a later date.